Liam Roberts worked at a small factory as a laborer. He wasn't someone who had fancy qualifications or a college degree. He had started working right after high school because he needed a job. He worked hard, did his best, and was proud of the work he did. His life wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. Every day, he showed up, did his job, and went home, hoping to save a little money and improve his life one step at a time. One evening, as Liam was walking home after work, he noticed a girl walking down the street. She didn't look like she belonged there. She was dressed in a high school uniform, but it didn't seem like it was from the local school. She looked very tired, like she had been walking for a long time. It was cold outside, and she wasn't wearing a coat. Her knees were scraped, and her clothes looked messy. Liam felt sorry for her and was immediately worried. He couldn't just walk past her, not when she looked so sad and vulnerable. Liam stood for a moment, watching her from a distance. He wasn't sure what was going on, but he knew he couldn't just ignore her. She was rubbing her hands together, trying to warm herself up, and occasionally blowing on her hands to make them warmer. Liam couldn't just leave her there. He thought about what might happen to her if she was out there alone. She was young, and it didn't seem safe. What if something bad happened to her? What if she was lost or hurt? The more he thought about it, the more he realized he had to do something. Liam quickly made up his mind. He walked to a nearby coffee shop and bought some hot drinks and a few donuts. He thought that at least the hot drinks would warm her up and the food might help her feel better. As he walked back to the girl, he saw that she seemed startled, like she wasn't expecting anyone to talk to her. Liam approached her and said gently, "Hey, don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you. You look cold, so I thought I'd bring you something to help. It's fresh, hot lemon tea. Here, you can hold it to warm your hands." The girl hesitated for a moment, but then she took the tea and pressed it against her cheek for warmth. Liam smiled at her, hoping that she would feel better. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "I got some donuts. I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I just grabbed some random ones. Want one?" The girl muttered a quiet thanks and took the donut. She didn't say much, but Liam could tell she was grateful. He felt a little better knowing he had done something kind for her. Liam then asked, "Are you going home now?" The girl shook her head but didn't say anything. She seemed like she didn't want to talk too much, but Liam couldn't just leave her like that. "Is everything okay?" "Where are you going?" he asked. She replied in a small voice, "I was thinking of going to my dad's house." "It's far away." Liam was surprised. She was so young, but she didn't seem to be with her parents. It made him worried. "Are you with your mom?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she lifted her skirt slightly, revealing her legs, which were covered in cuts and bruises. Liam was shocked. "What happened to your legs?" he asked. She quickly covered them up, but Liam could see that she had been hurt. She seemed embarrassed, and she didn't want to talk about it. "Did someone hurt you?" Liam asked. "Did you get into a fight?" The girl tensed up, refusing to answer. Liam realized that whatever had happened to her was something she didn't want to talk about, so he quickly apologized. "Okay, I understand. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to." Then, Liam tried to help again. "You shouldn't stay out here. It's not safe. How about going home? I can help you get there." The girl shook her head again. "No," she said quietly. "I was thinking of going to my dad's house." Liam wasn't sure what to do, but he tried to help as best as he could. "Do you have a phone?" he asked. The girl shook her head. "I don't even have a phone," she replied. Liam was surprised. How could a teenager not have a phone? In this day and age, everyone seemed to have one, but he didn't say anything. He just tried to help. "Do you know where your dad lives?" Liam asked. The girl nodded and pulled out a small piece of paper from her pocket. She showed it to Liam. "This is the address," she said. Liam looked at it, but it didn't look familiar. He decided to help further. "Let me look it up for you," he said, pulling out his smartphone. He searched the address, and the results came up. The address was linked to a company called Rilk Group, which seemed to be a construction company. Liam wrote down the number he found and handed it to her. "This is the number I found for the address," he said. "You can call it tomorrow. Maybe your dad works for the company. I hope it helps." The girl smiled, and for the first time, she seemed a little more at ease. Liam wanted to make sure she was okay for the night. "You should stay at a nearby hotel tonight," he suggested. "I'll make a reservation for you. You can stay there, and in the morning, you can call your dad. It's safer than staying out here." The girl hesitated. "I don't have any money," she said quietly. Liam didn't have much money left either, but he knew he had to help. He pulled out the last $120 he had in his wallet and said, "Don't worry about it. I can pay for the hotel. Just stay there tonight. After a warm bath and a good night's sleep, you'll feel better. Tomorrow, you can call your dad and get in touch with him." He made the reservation at a nearby hotel that offered breakfast for $120. He took the girl there, talked to the hotel staff, and handed them the money. He also asked if they could let her use the phone in the morning to call her dad. Once everything was settled, he said goodbye to the girl. "I hope you can meet your dad soon," he said. After leaving the girl at the hotel, Liam felt good about what he had done. His wallet was empty, but he was happy that he had helped someone in need. The next few days passed, and Liam went back to his normal routine, not expecting anything in return. Then one day, Liam was called into the office by his boss, Elliot Mercer. It was the first time Elliot Mercer had ever called him to his office. Liam was nervous. When he entered the office, he was surprised to see that Elliot Mercer was dressed in a fancy suit, which seemed strange for the manager of a small factory. Elliot Mercer looked at him and said, "Liam, you don't have to come to work anymore. You're fired." Liam was shocked. "What? Why?" he asked, confused. "What did I do wrong?" Elliot Mercer didn't answer right away. Instead, he said, "We don't need a troublemaker like you here. You're involved with the mafia, aren't you?" Liam couldn't believe what he was hearing. "What? No, that's not true. I don't know anything about the mafia." Elliot Mercer didn't listen. He said, "The mafia is looking into you. We don't want someone like you working here." Liam tried to explain, "I'm not involved with the mafia. This must be some mistake." But Elliot Mercer didn't care. "We don't want a high school graduate working here, especially someone who's involved with bad people," he said. "You're fired. Leave now." Liam was devastated. He didn't understand why he was being fired, and no matter how much he begged and explained, Elliot Mercer refused to listen. He looked at me like I was nothing and then pointed at the door. "Is that all you got to say? I've heard your side of the story, and that's enough. Now get out. I've got work to do." It's all over. I felt like it was the end. I was handed a thin envelope in the office. It was my last paycheck after 15 years of hard work. Was all that work really so meaningless? It just ended with this little envelope. When I said goodbye to my co-workers, they asked, "Why so suddenly?" That's ridiculous. They were sad that I was leaving, but there was nothing they could do. They knew if they tried to help me, they might lose their jobs too. So they just said, "Take care," and I walked out the gates of the company where I had worked for 15 years. What am I supposed to do now? I thought. I was fired suddenly, and all I had was this small envelope. I just hoped I could find another job before the money ran out. I looked at the ground as I walked, lost in my thoughts, when I saw a black car stop. Why was it stopping here? I looked up and saw a fancy black car. I thought, must be a big shot here for the factory. But then the driver, wearing gloves, got out and opened the back door. A man in an expensive suit and a girl stepped out. The man asked the girl, "Is this the guy?" The girl nodded. When I saw the girl, I said, "Oh, you're the girl from before? You met your dad, right? That's great. I'm so happy you got to meet him safely." I smiled at her, forgetting my own problems for a moment. She smiled back and hugged me. "Thanks to you, my daughter could meet me safely," the man said. "Thank you." He looked at me and said, "You're her dad? That's wonderful. I was worried about her, but had no way to contact you." Then he asked, "Why are you leaving the company so early?" "Got somewhere to go." I tried to laugh, but it came out dry. "Oh, just something like that," I said. There was no way I could tell him I had just been fired, especially not someone who looked so important. He smiled. "If you're not busy, I'd like to thank you. It's almost lunchtime. How about a meal?" I said, "No thank you, that's too much. I should just do what I can." He insisted, "Come on, don't be like that. If you have other plans, that's fine, but if you're free, would you join me? I just want to thank you properly for saving my daughter." I didn't want to seem rude, so I said, "If you insist, I'll accept your offer." I got into the car, and we went to a fancy restaurant. When I arrived, I felt a little out of place. I was wearing my work clothes, which weren't right for such a fancy place. But the man just laughed and said, "Don't worry about it. Clothes don't eat the meal." He smiled as the host led us to a private room. The room was beautiful and made me feel nervous. But as we started to eat, I felt more relaxed. The girl's smile and the way she talked with her dad made me feel warm inside. The food was delicious, and I enjoyed every bite. After a while, the man gave me a business card and said, I should have introduced myself earlier. I'm the boss of Rilk family. Wait, Rilk family? The mafia? I asked, surprised. He laughed. Yes, that's right. But the mafia is also a family. Thanks to you, I was able to reunite with my daughter. I'm really grateful. I nodded, still surprised, and then asked, How did your daughter end up like that? The man sighed. Her mother and I divorced years ago. She remarried, but her new husband was not kind to my daughter. After her mother passed away, her new husband became the boss of a small factory. After that, my daughter was treated badly. That's why her legs were bruised. I felt terrible when I heard this. That's awful, I said. How could someone be so cruel? He nodded. I swore to get revenge on him. He smiled sadly. It doesn't sound good for a mafia boss to say such things, does it? I shook my head. I understand how you feel. Then the man asked, What about you? You left work so early. Something must have happened. I felt embarrassed. Well, I was just fired. They said I had connections with bad people, but I don't know how they came to that conclusion. They fired me without asking. He was shocked. What? That's terrible. He called over one of his workers, and after a brief conversation, the man turned back to me. I'm so sorry. That was my fault. I had my guys check up on you because I wanted to thank you. It looks like they mentioned our name on the phone, and that's why they said you were connected to bad people. It was a mistake. I couldn't believe it. You mean I was fired because of a misunderstanding? The man nodded. Yes, I'll talk to your boss and fix this. Everything will be okay. I shook my head. No, it's okay. I don't want to work for a boss who doesn't trust me. I don't want to go back to that. The man looked at me seriously. So, you have something else lined up? I felt embarrassed. No, I don't have anything yet. If I don't find something by the end of the month, I'll be in trouble. He thought for a moment. In that case, how about I introduce you to a company run by a friend of mine? They're not connected to the mafia. I think my friend would like you. I smiled but shook my head. No, I couldn't accept that. I really want to take this opportunity. That's the truth. But should I do it? After all, the other person is said to be involved with the mafia, even if they say they aren't. Can I believe that? Well, if I ever need help, I can always call the number on the card the boss gave me. He said he would help me no matter what. A month later, I needed his help. I went to a lot of interviews, but I couldn't get a job. I was thinking I might have to take part-time work instead. One day, I was feeling like having a drink but didn't have anyone to go with. The boss told me, Don't worry about the money. I'm just asking for your company. Even though he was a mafia member, he seemed kind, and I decided to go with him. We went to a bar. The boss asked, Why not go to a fancy restaurant? I said, I've never been to one, and it makes me feel nervous. I feel more relaxed in a simple bar. The boss smiled and said, I understand now. I ordered a beer and drank it. Then the boss asked, Did you find a job yet? I told him no. It's hard to find a job after high school. I applied to many companies, but no one called me back. He said, That's too bad, and then he surprised me. Would you help me with something? I was nervous. The mafia boss wanted my help. I thought he might ask me to do something bad, but he explained, Even though I'm in the mafia, I'm not doing bad things. I want to get justice for my daughter, he said. I was shocked. His daughter had been treated very badly by a boss at a company. This manager, who worked at a factory, was always wearing fancy clothes and never worked hard. He even made his workers, including the boss's daughter, do all the hard work, and she wasn't even treated well. The boss wanted revenge, but not in a bad way. He didn't want to go to jail. He wanted to get the manager out of the company using the law. He started his own company to do this. I want to take over that company, he told me. The manager has a lot of personal problems like debts. He's using the company's money to fix them. That's why the workers are paid so little. I understood. The pay had been bad since the last manager died. The mafia boss wanted to get rid of the manager and make sure the workers earn more money. I asked, What will happen to him? The boss replied, He'll have nothing left. His wife will probably leave him, and no company will want to hire him after I'm done with him. The boss wanted me to help him take control of the company. He said, You know how the factory works. I want you to be the new manager. I told him, but I'm just a high school graduate. I don't have experience. He said, it used to be common for high school graduates to be bosses. It's about hard work and experience. The more I thought about it, the more I felt I could do it. I agreed to help him. Great, he said. Let's drink to the future of the new company. Later, we went to the company where the manager worked. The mafia boss met the manager and reminded him about an old job they had. The boss said, I want to make a $7 million deal with you. The manager was surprised. The mafia boss wanted to sign a big contract. The manager eagerly signed the paper, not even reading it. He didn't notice that the boss had tricked him. The next part of the plan was to make the manager's job difficult. The boss made the manager push his workers really hard. However, there was a problem with the delivery of the goods. The delivery companies didn't want to work with the manager anymore, and the mafia boss made sure this happened. So, the manager had no choice but to get a truck from the mafia's company. The delivery had a lot of delays, and the cargo didn't arrive on time. The mafia boss called the manager and reminded him of the contract. The boss said, since the delivery was late, you'll have to pay $7 million. If you enjoyed this story and would like to see more content like it, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on all our latest, inspiring, and heartwarming stories and have the opportunity to engage with our growing community. Additionally, I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comment section below. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to sharing more captivating narratives with you.